Hello, hello, friends. This is Wisdom, embodying energy, embracing seasons. And today I have the honor and gift to have a Mimi Kuo-Deemer, who has been my teacher, my anchor, and my guide through the years. Maybe Mimi doesn't know it, but I want to use the occasion to acknowledge you. You came across my life in a very pivotal moment in 2020 when we were during the pandemics. I have at that time I was several months in sickness leave,
Mm.
and also during that time when I started training with you, I started training internal martial arts. I have been training 2 years already Qigong, which was a game changer in my life. And through this connection and the way you embody the wisdom of Qigong, it became not only something I do with my body, but a guide, like with wisdom. When I think about this space we created with wisdom, it's not something we acquire; it's something we create the conditions to listen to pay attention, and to let be guided. And during that time, I left my job, my corporate job. I divorced. I lived through illness. I also lived through an illness of my son 3 years ago, which is still ongoing. And the 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 gift of being able to learn from you, although we haven't knowing meet each other in person, it has been huge. Your joyous way to transmit knowledge and wisdom is something that I keep in my heart. Like in some classes, you say that one of your teachers says, "Have fun and save the world." This openness, yeah, this openness and this approach with curiosity and humility towards the practice, and also the discipline and the perseverance and the compassion in the practice has the instill all the way I have lived the challenges in these last times, and I have been trained on and off. Sometimes I couldn't because I was very ill or very going through very emotional difficult times, but I keep trying to learn from you. I restarted training internal martial arts. That's why I came across with you, and that has also given me the inspiration for the questions we used with Sam for the interviews, where we talked about the wisdom we carry from the ancestors or what came before us, and the responsibility we have towards the future. Because in our classes with you, we have three vows. One is vow of community. We have been talking here in these months about the common ground and the network of our roots. We bow to our teachers, the past, present, and future, that acknowledges that we have people that guide us. So thank you very much, Mimi. I bow to you, and we bow to ourselves. What means to all with what came before us, not only our bloodline ancestors, but all life. And that has given me the ground to be here today, despite all the uncertainties and things I live in my life, but in the world also. So I'm very thankful to have you here for this month of February, the month of love. You really embodied all these characteristics for me. So thank you, Mimi, for being here, and just let us know a bit about you.
Thank you so much, Gabriela. That's such a heartwarming and touching introduction, and I feel really honored that you've stuck with the practice and that you found it so enriching and supportive and expansive. And I think that's one of the things that the practice for me has really helped with is moving out of the tendencies to get ensnared, entangled, and tight in our hearts and to witness the unraveling of tension and feel that not only as a conceptual experience, but something that we can directly feel, sense, embody, know through, yeah, careful, compassionate attention and presence and movement.
I haven't said anything just yet. I'd like to just jump in here because I don't think I've even said hello to you, Mimi. But everything that Gabby said clearly shows her love for you and the work that you do. So I'm very glad that we've invited you to join us in this month. And everything that you just said there about relieving the tension is really wonderful too, because for me, February is around that kind of releasing of the tension of the grip of winter. So it feels really lovely. So, hi, I'm Sam.
Hi, Sam. Really
Nice
nice
to
to
have
see you
you
and meet
here
you.
with us.
And thank you for
um,
hosting me today as well. Yeah.
so you could you just a tiny little bit more about what you do, because obviously I've had Gabby's experience there, and the work that you've done with her and she's continuing to do with you has a massive impact. What else
Mm.
do you do?
Well, the role and the descriptions of Gabby's work with me, the role that I've been playing there is the facilitation of Baguazhang and Xingyi Quan transmission, and that is my internal martial arts lineage. And I'm a sixth generation lineage holder in Baguazhang. And that has been transformative for me. I came to it in 2019, so not that long ago. Prior to that, I've been teaching and practicing Qigong since about 2002, 2003. And prior to that, also practicing yoga asana and meditation a little bit after that. Oh, it actually started right around 2002. So I've had kind of a checkered past in terms of movement practices and different disciplines. They all complement each other, and I feel that each has served a beautiful launching point for deepening practice and looking at the ways in which I and others sense into bodily life and wisdom teachings and these more ancient Eastern philosophies. And I think at every point through these different explorations of mine, my interest has been, how do we embody the philosophies? How do we look at these words that have come down from texts and teachings and the hermeneutical traditions that really give us an anchor into how these teachings evolved and why they've become still so important, why they've remained so relevant to us today. But texts are very heady, and
Yes.
and I think all of the teachings, ironically, are really pointing not to a head dominant experience. They're pointing to a lived, embodied presence and interconnectedness of all things. And as a human being, I think I can see these tendencies in myself, but I think for many human beings right now, our experience is myopic and head centered, and we've become so fixated on looking at knowledge and comprehension and deepening understanding as a very top down orientated process. But these traditions, Buddhism, Taoism, yoga, more recently for myself, yoga has taken a little bit of a back burner. And so Taoism and Buddhism, primarily for me now, really speak to understanding the lived experience and the embodied intelligence and the wholeness of experience that so many of us are missing out on because we're so tense, stressed, anxious, worried
And living here.
in the head.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, the other day, Gabby, I think you were in this class. I was teaching about a Chinese saying called 格物致知, and 致知. So it means, deep understanding comes through knowledge. Like deep knowledge comes through deepening understanding. But again, these tend to land as invitations for a conceptual understanding, very cerebral. But what they actually were pointing to is, how is our posture? How is the energy flow through our body? What can we sense? What's the somatic field like? What are the joint spaces doing? Where's the tension? And so, yeah, for myself, coming back to just a little bit about me, I'm looking at ways to embody these teachings, and particularly within Qigong, Taoism, internal martial arts, it does tie into nature and the seasonality of nature, the cyclical dynamics and patterns of nature, and not to see them as something happening outside of ourselves, but to see them as intrinsically part of who we are and how we express, how we animate, how we show up, and really embrace that rather than, again, kind of distance ourselves or separate ourselves from those processes as something happening outside of this body.
So you talked about Taoism and Buddhism and internal martial arts and nature. So obviously those are wisdoms that you draw on for your work. I mean, is there any way you could give us maybe an example of that in some way, a very small living example, maybe even something from this week?
So earlier, before we began this conversation, we were talking about the fire horse and February being the month for this time, Chinese New Year, the Lunar New Year. And you were mentioning, oh, we're going to be ready for a gallop. Right? The horse is coming in and we're going to gallop. And I think this is one way that I read a lot, maybe you've read these things too, about this being a volatile year. It's a fire horse year. It's going to be lots of motion. And the gallop is something that, we're going to be quick and it's potentially explosive or quite passionate and big changes are coming. I think if one looks at the understandings of fire and horses, however, from a classical Chinese Taoist perspective, horses rarely gallop. I have lots of horses that live around me. I've been to the New Forest. I've seen the ponies. Most of their days are spent head down, eating grass, meandering. They only gallop if they're startled. Or if they're spooked and there's fear, right? Otherwise, they're really beautiful, elegant, quiet, calm, aligned creatures. They symbolize, in the Taoist tradition, what in Buddhism we equate with the monkey mind. So rather than train the monkey mind in Taoist practice, we train the spirit horse. And when we train the spirit horse, it's not to subdue or make the horse captive. It's to train the equivalent of our heart, right? The spirit horse, when calm, doesn't easily spook. When the heart is steady and aligned with nature, it's not captive, right? It's not enslaved. It's not overwhelmed and nervous. The heart is spacious and it allows for the unfolding of things. And if you need to run, you run, but you don't run unless you need to. You don't get suddenly spooked by everything you see on social media thinking the world is going to, belly up right now and we're all in a terrible mess. Maybe we are, but at the same time, monks are walking on a peace walk through the United States right now. And a dog is with them. It's beautiful. The trees are continuing their cycles. I feel incredibly joyous at many, many things. And yet, media and the way that we consume it often tells us there's a lot more to be spooked by. Like we got to be on the run for the fire horse. And the other thing would be, so the horse is symbolic of the spirit horse training the heart to make more space for all experiences, not get so easily rattled, and it's free. It's a beautiful symbol within the Zhuangzi, the work of the sage Zhuangzi, of freedom and ultimate alignment with Tao and spontaneity that isn't just doing whatever you want and being whimsical. Right? Spontaneity is actually the true abiding in one's nature that allows one, therefore, to be free. And fire is also in the West seen as very transformative, purifying, but equated sometimes with the negative aspects of fire more than the positive.
Yeah, more the death,
Passionate,
destruction.
fiery personality, the fires of hell, the devil, just these calamitous forces of destruction. But in Chinese medicine and Qigong and internal martial arts, fire is seen as the potential for connection, for calm, for maturity, right? Fire is the equivalent of summer, and summer is what matures the spring's blossoms, right? It's the fullness of the rose. And in that maturity, if it's balanced and nurtured and supported through a restful winter, a nourishing spring, then by fire, we've matured into, beauty, connection, a sense of calm, not a sense of neediness or anxious wanting and clinging, but a sense of being fulfilled, of having our needs met, of having community, of family, of work that is enriching and inspiring rather than exhausting and depleting. We also don't take in so much that it overstimulates and therefore burdens our heart and its capacity to metabolize life, which is what the heart's doing, right? But it's able to be spacious and allow for the flow of information, experiences to come in and to flow out and abide in that field. In Chinese, this is called the Xin. In Buddhism, in yoga, it's called the Chitta. Right? It's a field, it's fluid, it's empty, and things happen within that field. But the field can sometimes become entrained by patterns that we learn through life, right? Nervousness, anxious responses to things, clinging, fearing, pushing, wanting something to be different than it is. And it's not that these are wrong. It's just that, we also have the opportunity through, I believe, these practices to meet and give company to the chitta, to sit with and experience its tendencies for distress or dysregulation, right? And then offer it the opportunity to be met, and then what could I, maybe draw on resources. What could I do to settle that through? Oh, breathing. Oh, moving. Oh, letting blocked energy through the body begin to flow again and support the natural, free, spontaneous, and an unencumbered, unentangled sense of heart, right? To be to manifest, to be known.
When you've been talking and I've been listening to your words, and at the same time an image came into my head of standing in a field and stroking a horse's head. And actually that being with calm, quiet, not spooking the horse so that it moves away or it pulls up its head kind of suddenly. So can you imagine that? So there's something around that. Did you say chitta? Chitta.
Yeah.
So that space of being within your heart.
And what do we usually do when we see horses? We don't run after them, right? We say,
we walk slowly towards them.
We get calm so that they don't feel anxious. And then think, oh, if we're calm, they'll respond, they'll come to us. Or we don't jump on a horse and gallop away unless there's an emergency. But on the whole, we help the horse feel steadied by our steadiness. Right? And then in symbiosis more with that horse, we feel aligned and we listen, and we then invite the horse to listen to us, ideally.
Yeah, and you remind me when I was a kid, my father once got a horse. I don't know, it was a crazy story, and he said it was my gift for my birthday, and I named the horse Joy. And
A
I
lovely
didn't.
name.
Yeah, and I didn't learn to ride on the horse or anything, but I used to spend the whole afternoon. It was a difficult time, no? My father and my mother got divorced when I was little, and my mother was ill. But I love to spend the afternoon with the horses. And he was a very good listener. Just sat down. I remember I sat down on a stone, and I just spoke and reflected and asked the horse things. And we have long conversations, which ended up with me being full of, I don't know how you say in English, these small,
Goosebumps.
yeah, yeah.
Yes, yes.
So I was completely full of that, but it was beautiful, and that's what horse evokes me. It's this steadiness and calmness and connection. It didn't matter we didn't speak the same language. We understood each other. And now listening to you, I was thinking our class recently, and through the years, what changed for me through your teachings is that when I started to do qigong, it was something that I did to my body, so that my head, so I did this, that my body relaxes and my body, and now it's a deep surrender to the meeting place of all this, of all what is, no. So now my body, or what we train, or what we explore, for me your classes are explorations where I allow everything to meet there in the canvas of my body, my emotions, my whatever. And this has was amazing to witness how this started to permeate and penetrate all aspects of my life, that I was able to that it became my practice in everyday life, and have more compassion and understanding. So yeah.
Yeah, a word that's often used in Qigong and in internal martial arts in Chinese is 体会, which means to embody or sense or feel. And the character in Chinese for embodied, like 体, is a bag of bone, or an abundance of bones. And it's really an invitation, right, to feel into our bones, our roots, our ancestors, like you were mentioning before, just this continuity with what has come before us, but is also present within us. And it's it's a very invitational practice because, well, let me back up. It's a discipline, like meditation is a discipline, to sit, commit, stay with experience. And with internal martial arts particularly, it's a discipline that is embodied, and it's challenging. And I'm really, when I say, Gabby, I'm so happy that you've stuck with this. I'm really honest with that, because a lot of people drop off because it's, my Shifu likes to describe it as difficult, boring, and repetitive. That really sells it, doesn't it?
That's like most practices, isn't it, really? And you have to keep on and keep going and keep going.
Yeah. It's gongfu. Gongfu is martial art, but it's martial arts. Gongfu means merit achieved through slow persistence and perseverance. And that, I think, is actually something that so many people today crave, but are struggling to commit to. We aren't short of options in this world for how we move, how we take care of the body, what we do. But what we really are short on, I feel like, is discipline. People are super flaky, especially since the pandemic.
I get that through crafting. I forget that through making. So bookbinding. There are different stages into binding a book. The folding of the paper is its own particular. So I suppose like in a sense, like a qigong exercise, you'll have one thing that you have to perfect how to do that, and cutting, the sewing, and the piecing together. They all have different rhythms, but you have to practice them over and over and over and over again. And every book is completely different. And I think that for me is similar, it's not the same, but it's a similar kind of meditative practice that might be, that some people might have through Qigong or
internal martial arts. Yeah. And I think that, like, I bring this up because Gabby was saying what used to be something that you do to the body, and then it shifted into something that is in relationship and in kind of close communication with body. And that shift only happens through time, through the steady perseverance. And to persevere leads to the greatest transformations. And I think that's also something about nature. And nature's patience and nature's speed and its slowness feels incompatible with a lot of the human designs now that are built to be faster and more expedient and efficient. And what purpose does it serve? But again, from the Taoist teachings, I do a lot of circle walking for my Bagua practice, and it might just outwardly look ridiculous. This is person walking in circles, like, what is this? But it's very difficult, and it's very simple, and it doesn't really serve a purpose other than really sensing into my body, my place, the continuity of things. And in Taoism, there are many stories that talk about how people discard crooked and gnarled old trees because they have no purpose, or a gourd that doesn't really seem to have much of a purpose because it's not shaped right, or it's too big. And
sorry, let me just let my dog out. I do apologize.
Should I continue or pause?
Yeah.
Continue?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I'm back.
So I was just saying, in a lot of Taoist, in a lot of the Taoist teachings, there are stories about gnarled and crooked, sort of ugly looking trees, or gourds that are too big or too small that don't really seem to have a purpose. But then the tree that doesn't seem to be useful or have purpose survives in the land of the village of nothing whatsoever. Right? It doesn't get cut down. And so its purpose then is longevity. Like it survives. And sometimes we feel so much these days that things that we do are for some outcome, for some goal, to be younger, be stronger, be more beautiful, be healthier. But actually, it's like, can we revisit this purpose practice? And could it be something else? Could it be listening? Could it be sensing more, attuning more, responsive to different circumstances that arise with an experience that require a wisdom response rather than something jarring, jagged, and clumsy, or even judgmental? And so, could the aim of these practices be spaciousness of the heart? Could it be compassion? Could it be happiness? To live simply and to not feel fettered and bound by the societal structures and constructions that tell us a narrative that's, taking not maybe just oneself, but, humanity towards the brink of quite serious danger. And so it's like it's just a reflections question. I don't really know the answers to it, but like, I think looking at these wisdom traditions, love is a primary force, right? For practice. Spaciousness, freedom, awakening, oneness, a naturalness of being rather than living in artifice and the confines and constrictions of social constructions. And of course, we are in society, we can't deny that. But within that, to reflect on what is useful and what is not, what is skillful, what is not. And this is really the orientation of both Taoist and Buddhist practice, is to sit with the unfolding of things and track, what is arising, be sensitive to it, and then garnering the capacity and the skill to let the heart respond in a way that is more generous, is open, is not confined and limited by a view or an opinion or a judgment or a belief, right? But is making room for things.
Can I just jump in there? Because I just
Yeah.
feel like what you're describing is something that I think Gabby and I want, and many people who listen to us would really, this is the movement towards, that spaciousness, that place of a kind of love and a gentle pace. And as you said earlier, there is another world over here that is making things go faster and faster and faster with AI and all of that it brings. And not everything is bad, but it's this kind of speed, you can type something and then suddenly you have everything that you need at your fingertips. And there's a kind of, for me, there's a sense of sadness in that actually sometimes it is the learning. I enjoy the slowness of the learning, and I quite enjoy being able to go down different paths at my own pace to discover new things that are right for me at that time, rather than being faced with everything, with all of the information, because that's then very overwhelming.
May
Yeah.
I share something Mimi always tell us in classes, and I also I just want to share, for me, what she's sharing, it's not only a reflection or a concept, it has been my past these 6 years. I came from a very, very fast pace, from a corporation, burnout, and it has been breaking me open, and all these questions of how I allow a slowness. And Mimi always tells in the classes, if I remember well, something like within the movement seek stillness, and in stillness seek the movement. And this embodied memory that I have created, and as she says, is through perseverance and showing up, whatever it comes. And sometimes you cannot do it, but the willingness to show up, it has created an embodied memory in myself that when I'm confronted with very challenging situation, like when my son got a diagnosis 3 years ago, everything starts to turn around very fast, or your world crumbles, and this embodied memory of through the practices, through the internal martial arts, through the Qigong, allowed me that in that moment where my mind was running fast to create this spaciousness. So it's something and that's why I wanted to also invite you here, Mimi. I hope not to convince people to do this path I follow or you follow, but whatever path, but let's commit ourselves to these practices, because it gives fruits that will change the quality of our relationships, our inner relationship with life and with everything. For me, it has been the Gabriela that I was 6 years ago. I could not have sit through all what I have been through these years with compassion, love, and peace. And it sometimes in my mind I think I done nothing because I didn't achieve many things in the material world, meaning in the building a business or whatever I was thinking I had to do. But seeing my son every day and seeing how we live through that in peace, and I didn't destroy relationships I used to destroy in the past because of my anxiety or things like that, that's already a huge thing.
Yeah, I think it's really, really nice to hear that. And I think I echo, I haven't had probably as immediately threatening of a situation as you've described with your son. And someone may not have that as they go into something like an internal martial art practice or Qigong. And for myself, I can very, very clearly track the shift in simple situations of family dynamics, for example, which may not be actually that simple for many people, but just a little bit more spaciousness and a quality of steadiness, right? That stillness within movement, and also a sense of happiness, like the joy that kind of just carries forward regardless of what's actually happening, and the ability to see that even as things become tense, stressful, agitated, that I can meet that, and at the same time give it space and hold room for the joyous. I mean, I can't think of an example right offhand, but I am thinking actually of the monks that are walking across the US. And I read something yesterday that really touched me, which was that a man came with an urn of his deceased wife, and he wished one of the monks, he asked the monk to bless the urn and the ashes. And after the blessing, the monk, looking not at the urn and not at anything else, but directly at the man, says to him, "You and I are both bald." So funny. And then they both erupted in laughter. It's like this incredibly tender, meaningful, poignant moment. And the man was quite sad and devastated, like he carried the grief with him, right? And he has physically carried the remains of his wife. The blessing happens, and then the monk like meets him with this, "We are both bald." It was just so brilliant. And just this, the holding of the space for all things. And we can feel caught and myopic very often when things are difficult. And I think it's the ability to have faith and trust in situations, and that's, I think, probably at the foundation of so much of these practices, is the faith and the trust that they do shift we're not stuck. They shift our, I don't want to say our way of thinking. I think it's more like our way of being and sensing and relating and feeling a little bit more free within the changing experiences that sometimes are positive and sometimes very, very challenging, and sometimes just subtle. That gives us a lot more freedom and latitude in how we meet them. And I think it's because nature, again, drawing back to Qigong and internal martial arts, nature is interdependent. It is co-arising. It is changing. It is transforming and evolving. And one of the things I think that is really powerful about the practices is touching into that same capacity and holding it more at the forefront of our experiencing, really open to impermanence and change and transformation, not fearing it, right? And just on a more practical level, I think going back to Sam's feeling like there's this discrepancy between things, right? There's this sense of wanting to be nature and slow and gentle and paced, but then seeing AI and society and technology pulling in a very different way. Qigong and internal martial arts uses so many nature-based practices, imagery, intentions. We can feel the actual physical roots of our body. And so, for example, in early spring, right, this is really appropriate. We're invited to not just feel our feet as the roots, but from the waist down. These are the roots of our body, the roots of movement, right? So a lot of people get confused when they start doing Qigong and internal martial arts, like Tai Chi is an internal martial art, and they're just waving their arms around. And they're like, I don't get the point. Like, this doesn't do anything for me. What am I doing? Until they begin to really deeply investigate and have knowledge that we're working with nature. And when you move your arms like this, it comes from the whole body. It comes from the muscles connecting to bones through their roots, which are the tendons, comes from the body's roots from the waist down to leverage the ground and to feel that the whole body moves as one through the fascia, the connective tissue, the joints and the tendons. And the movement suddenly becomes a lot more animated. And if you were to take this into martial application, like this movement is crossing, blocking, grabbing, right? There's a whole new world of sensation and experiencing that allows nature's already existing patterns and manifestations to be remembered in our body. They're there, and it's an invitation through these practices to recall them, to invite them back, and to include them in our movement, right? The fluids of the body. And sometimes we think of ourselves as very robotic and kind of linear. A lot of movements in gyms, or if you're running, it's just very linear. It's the same repetition of muscles, movements like this. Even yoga asana is a bit linear. But you go into Qigong and internal martial arts, and it's dynamic, it's spiraling, it is patterning itself on the movement of the planet around the suns, around the turning of the moon. It's on the pattern of DNA, right? These very already present manifestations. We're not making these up. We're just actually realigning ourselves with them. And that gives a very powerful embodied confidence when we re-anchor ourselves in what is here in nature and discover it and honor it here in the body.
Gosh, Mimi, you've shared so much today. Gabby,
you asked me these questions. I'm really excited to talk about this.
Gabby, I think both questions have been answered, but is there anything else you want to ask?
Well, actually, let me just say one more thing about.
Mimi, is there anything else you want to share?
I know. Well, Sam, I was just thinking about your question a little bit more, and just to wrap up that thought. So we can realign with nature through these movements. But I also believe if you don't do these movements, that's fine, because there's also an invitation to remember that human beings will always want sincerity.
Yes.
We will always want connection. We'll always want authenticity.
Yes.
And AI might sweep in with its, recreations or artificial renderings and self-generated ideas, but if they're not coming from a conversation that even if it's on Zoom, like I can feel your presence, I can see your expressions, I can see the change of the light in your eyes, and that's a sincere connection.
Yes.
We're never going to lack for a longing of that. So I think I'm not that worried about AI.
I'm not worried. I think it's just that I can feel for many the pull of that, which is that pace, and it's going back to the word gallop that I used earlier. So it feels like a gallop, whereas here, what we've been talking about and what you've been sharing with us is a much quieter, slower pace. And a resourcing in that space. I think that's the piece. It's a resourcing and a regulating place as well. And not just for us, but for we are through those practices, even if you do them on your own, I think you are also regulating with other people around the world who are similarly doing the same.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think we have an opportunity really to change our karma. And I'll use this word in a way that isn't what I think the standard understanding of it is. Most people think it's predestination or fate, like, I got sick because, no, it's my karma, or they got into a car accident, that's their karma. That's actually a really I think not everything happens like that because of karma. Karma is
Mm.
actually the skillful response of the heart.
Mm-hmm.
It's the opportunity when faced with a decision or situation to, use the capacity of mindfulness, of embodiment to say, I'm not going to judge that.
Yeah.
Maybe that person has had a really hard day. That's changing your karma.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get involved in this online discussion and contribute something that I think is really wise
Mm.
because I am right. I'm going to say, am I really an expert in this area?
Mm.
And is this really contributing to a better understanding, or is it just fueling already
Discord of some kind.
established beliefs?
Mm.
Choosing just not to say anything is not lack of action, it's actually skillful karma.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Engage with
Mm.
somebody instead, have a real conversation, maybe not just type in the responses, message that person
Mm.
separately. Those little examples from day-to-day life, it's like these are opportunities to flourish. Right? I'm seeing
Mm.
your sign behind you. Flourish, women, kind, right? But it
Mm.
is, and especially if, we in the spring, early spring, stay grounded, nourish the
Mm.
roots, feel not just expansion, but steadiness. Right? Everything is a balance in Qigong and internal martial arts. Everything is orientating towards balance. Balance is of yin and yang. Balance isn't a boring place. It's actually a dynamic place where yin and yang are co-transforming. So we want stable, strong, rooted movement. We don't want just
Mm.
loosey-goosey movement. We want, no, steady, rooted,
Mm.
strong, mobile, like bamboo, willow trees,
Mm.
mobile potential in our body, in our heart, in the way that we conceptualize and meet the world. And I think that's really the opportunities for um, you know, very nourishing growth and
Mm.
nourishing transformation for oneself and for others. Mm.
Oh.
Wow, you just remind me something I listened today. A friend sent me a small video about flowers and bees. And there was someone explaining that flowers have, we all have an electromagnetic field, no? So even our hearts and our
Mm.
brains. And the one of the heart is bigger than the one of the brains outside our body. And the flowers that has, they have a negative electric uh, signal, and
Mm.
bees have a positive one. So they can meet, and when they meet, because they put like sensors and they can listen to the music when they do so, they can meet in that. Then the frequency and the sound changes. At some point, it balances out. There's silence when they are meeting, and the bees gathering the pollen.
Mm.
And even when the bee is going out with the pollen and all these things, the flowers still have a change of frequency to signal to other bees that's still not ready.
Mm.
So you see when it's so fascinating, and it's what has been fascinating to me with this path of remembering our in innate nature and connection to life and nature and trusting life is just something so perfect. You know what
Mm.
nature did with the flowers and this way of signaling when you're ready or not ready. So it's the
Yeah.
invitation to get more inspired on that, on this perfect balance that is life and cosmos and nature, and that's what has been for me, or is
Mm.
for me, and I hope I keep up with the path, and yeah.
I
Mm.
can. I believe that you will, Gabby. From hearing your connections and the
Yeah,
inspiration that you have got from the work that you do.
it has been challenging because I was pretty burnout and still, and my body was not responding as when I was young, no? And
Mm.
sometimes I cannot keep up with the body place or piece. And Mimi's teaching has been quite of adore way, because you also say about the intention and working with intention and meeting where we are at without trying to force. And it's been a learning to meet in my body in where it's at and how it responds. And sometimes I feel more fit and flexible and energized, and sometimes not. But it's humbling and beautiful, and also freeing to see that I can follow this path even if I cannot like be like I was in my 20s with my
A
body.
very age, yeah, it's a very age appropriate practice though. And
Yeah.
Mm.
as I've even noticed the way that my shifu is training me changed after I turned 50. And the suggestions of what I do and how low I go or how much I do has really shifted, and it's beautiful because he's also getting older and he's making those adjustments and changes in his practice and body. And it's a practice of respecting our bodies as we age. So
Mm.
even though I probably could go quite low in some forms, why should I?
Yeah.
What's the point? Like, what do I need to prove? Isn't
Mm-hmm.
the point to feel happy? Is it, and it isn't the point to feel like to do these practices just to feel the spaciousness of heart. It's not
Mm.
to, if I keep going low and I continue doing that and my bones are changing, my chemistry is changing, I'm probably just going to hurt myself. What, and then the longevity of this practice will shorten.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm learning calligraphy now, a little bit of Chinese
Wow.
calligraphy. And my shifu was so excited because he's like, when you start now, something like this, you'll be able to do this when you're in your 80s if you're lucky. And because you won't be able to do all the movement practices when you're 80.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the same energy and principles at work.
Yeah.
It's just at a age appropriate level.
Yeah.
Wow.
And even like the great Tai Chi masters, it's interesting because they started teaching and Tai Chi became more popular when they were older.
Mm.
When they were younger, they were like badass martial artists. But as they got
Mm.
into their 60s and they started taking on apprentices, they were using intention, not big movement, like
Mm.
very subtle. And so the transmission of a lot of Tai Chi teaching has been started by people who are moving less than they used to as a martial artist. And then it gets pushed out into the world and shared as, oh, just something very subtle and less. But it just depends on what your age is. If you're
Yeah.
starting Tai Chi in your 20s, you're going to go low in those like
Mm.
snake drops down, snake
Mm.
creeps down forms, and you're going to kick high in the different, forms that involve that. And, I think it's just beautiful because it's really embracing the changing cycles and ages and meeting and an invitation to really meet us as we change, not to
Mm.
try to make us younger, to make
Mm-hmm.
us do something that in our 50s we did in our 20s.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm going to call us to an end, ladies, because it's been a really wonderful. I mean, I'm definitely going to be rewatching this video myself, and pausing and taking some notes and kind of like just applying what you have shared with us, to my own life and to share with people around me, with my friends and with my family.
Mm,
Um, there is so much that you have shared. It's been an absolutely joy listening to you.
mm.
Maybe just a goodbye from both of you, and then I can wrap up.
Yeah, well, before going, if
You
Mimi
want to
wants
go
to
back?
share, no, because there's an image she shared on class with us, and I don't know if I can like transmit it, but and I don't know if you remember it, but you were explaining the meaning of kun or gong, like the workshop of a carpenter. So if I don't know, I was just feeling might be beautiful to finish with this image and idea what you explain about this Yeah, it's perseverance, it's boring and discipline, but it's about this love for creating a shelter for all what is life, no? So something like that, but you maybe can
Yeah, it's
compliment and I say, or
yeah,
goodbye.
gong is a plow and a carpenter's square used for making right angles in carpentry. So, and then qi is like nourishing and transforming rice into something digestible through steam and heat. So it's really, Qigong is to me the steady shaping and creating of life energy to nourish ourselves and nourish life.
Wonderful.
So thank you so much for having me and the invitation to
It's
join your
been wonderful.
podcast. And it was really nice to meet you, Sam, and see you, Gabriella.
Thank you,
Thank you so
Mimi. Really,
much.
really
Yeah,
thank you.
I'm wishing
Mimi, we would
everyone
love
a really
you.
joyous and steady grazing of grass horse year.
Yes, absolutely. I love it.
Connecting and loving and calm.
And
Right,
calm.
balanced fire rather than the volatile and burnout
Yeah,
of fire.
I love that. I'm definitely taking that one away with me. Mimi, we will in our notes below, we will share how people can get in contact with you, and so that they can also make the connections. I'm sure that you're going to connect with many people who watch our videos, and they will also want to find out more about how you work and where you work, and how they can stay connected with you. So so this video is just come out after the year of the horse. So we are trotting, maybe walking slowly rather than galloping, and enjoying the stillness, the spaciousness, the quietness as we connect with our heart, and that connectedness with the season of early spring, late winter. So it's bye-bye from me.
So thank you very much. Thank you so much, Mimi, for being here. You cannot imagine what it means to me.
Oh, thank you. It's a real
Thank
honor.
you.
So this is With Wisdom signing off, embodying energy and embracing seasons. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.